I keep hearing about this Anzu Robotics thing from a number of different blogs, etc. People are talking about how it's like a front for DJI or a means to kind of skirt regulations, and you guys know I kind of want to get to the bottom of this. So, and most things, it's important. So yeah, let me try and see who we can chat with to kind of help.
My brother. I'm in the car with my kid. What's up?
Oh, nothing. Hey, man. Sorry to hit you up out of nowhere. I was curious if I could head on over and talk to you kind of about this Anzu Robotics thing. Is that cool?
You know, any day, anytime, I'd like to have that conversation.
All right, cool. I'll see you, what, like 30 minutes, something like that? 20 minutes? Like,
Yeah, sounds good to me.
all right, man. Cheers.
Bye, brother.
Bye.
See you soon.
So, yeah, guess we're going to go down to Randall's and see what he's got to talk to us about. Hey, friends. Special episode here of the Untethered podcast. I've got with us Anzu Robotics CEO, Randall Warnas, in the flesh.
What's up?
To ask some questions about the latest and greatest innovations here in the UAS industry. We're recording this before the launch of the brand. To kind of get the inside scoop. The product, who the customers are, story of the company as much as we can, pricing, any sort of details, anything else you want to share. And obviously, if I ask too many questions, you can tell me to shut the hell up.
No, I think, Bobby, you and I have known each other a long time. I think that you coming over here and just being able to have a conversation about the things that people want to ask, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to touch everybody. I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's questions. So the more questions you ask me that, you know, other people have,
Sweet.
It gives me an opportunity to answer them. That's not just going to be in an email or hopefully found somewhere in our documentation. So,
Dope. Awesome. All right. Start off with, tell us about Anzu Robotics.
Anzu Robotics has the concept of taking the world's best technology and decoupling it from some of the geopolitical situations that revolve around drones right now. I think that there's a way to make the best drones in the world accessible to anyone and everyone that needs this technology for the commercial and civic space. And I think that there's been a lot of legislative hurdles that have slowed growth in the industry, as well as kept people from confidently developing solutions around them. So what we're trying to put out is really, really good drones that is a U.S. owned company, manufactured outside of China, and with the U.S. software stack on top of it, with U.S. security on U.S. servers, with U.S. support. So it should make people that are used to using drones or those that are newly adopting really comfortable with investing in the technology we're building.
That's dope. Okay, so a lot to unpack there. So the one thing you mentioned is you said commercial and civic. So are those the types of industries? Can you kind of double click on that?
Yeah. So I mean, I've been in the drone space for going on 10 years, and most of that time has been evangelizing for the industrial use of drones. But when you say enterprise or industry, an enterprise generally is like a large corporation or something like that. Industrial, well, you would think, smokestacks and infrastructure. But there's also the civic side, which is public safety, search and rescue, folks like that. So what we're building is not meant for defense. It's just not in the DNA of the company at all. And it's also not a consumer product. The price point and the capabilities are truly meant for somebody doing inspection work or, conveying their findings with digital data over to other colleagues rather than just for personal use, web use, whatever. So we have kind of narrowed that down, and I say civic on top of it just for clarity that there's a lot of cops and fire departments that are using drone technology, and when you just say industrial or enterprise, it feels like it leaves them.
Okay, so we'll say inspection.
Correct.
Surveying.
Correct.
Public safety.
Correct.
Mapping.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask more about the capabilities too, because oil and gas type stuff, I assume it probably doesn't have an OGI sensor.
It does not have an OGI sensor. I mean, what we're talking about is a go ahead.
Thermal.
Yeah. High resolution 640 by 512 long wave infrared sensor, which I've been a part of the drone use of that since 2016, 15, long time.
Yeah.
So I understand that world, and oil and gas. they could definitely, oil and gas organizations could use our drones for their visual inspection of offshore oil rigs, etc. But the thermal aspect of it, it's not like the most common to be used into oil and gas.
I guess we'll click more into the capabilities and pricing in a second. I was going to save that for later, but we can talk pricing at the end. But the capabilities, so it's got thermal. Does it have radiometry?
Yeah. So radiometric, 640 by 512 long wave, all of that you're used to if you've captured thermal imagery before, it's going to be the same stuff that you're used to.
For sure. I get the reason I asked about the radiometric is like there's a nuance that if the sensors can
Correct.
provide that data, probably with pricing.
Correct.
So that's why I was asking.
Yep.
Cool.
So basically radiometry allows you to save all the thermal data within every pixel of the image so that you can measure, data rather than just have a physical image or a qualitative image of thermal. You have a quantitative aspect as well when it comes to radiometry. So yeah, radiometric has the an RTK module, so you can get more precision on your data capture
with the drone included.
It's all included. So that comes as well as the loudspeaker, a loudspeaker on top, so you could do a two-way radio type thing, communicate out from the drone. That's all included. So on the thermal side, then you have a 48 megapixel and a 12 megapixel camera, so you can have 56 times hybrid zoom on the thermal unit as well. So you have RGB capture, a wide angle, narrow angle, good zoom, and then on the one that does not have thermal is a 20 megapixel 4/3 inch sensor. So it's really high quality sensor on the RGB, as well as it has that that narrow 12 megapixel sensor, so that you have that 56x zoom on that unit as well.
Okay, wow, that's like for a non-Chinese platform, that's kind of wild.
It's the best stuff out there. For this class of drone, there is not a better way to capture drones, or capture imagery, or capture data from a drone for this class. It is now possible to have that best leading technology and not worry about geopolitics of the future or state by state when you're having legislation keep you from buying drones manufactured in a specific country for whatever reason. That is not a concern when you buy an Anzu product.
Okay. And so Anzu, you're coming out of the gate with how many products?
2. Okay. Raptor T. So a non-thermal and a thermal version of a foldable shoe-size drone that is very comparable to what you see most drones being used in the industrial space now.
So I use the term SRR sized.
Correct. I mean, yes, it is SRR size, but that's probably more.
I know we used to work at Autel, so that's
sure.
Evo size.
So definitely.
And then, and when you say industry leading, you're talking about like industry leading technology from within the drone industry.
Yeah. So we went out and licensed the leading drone technology in the world, and then have the ability to manufacture that and control the manufacturing of that, which is manufactured in Malaysia. And then we're taking that drone hardware, bringing it to the U.S., putting U.S. firmware on it, securing it here, and then the ownership is here, which I think is so important because in the TikTok world right now, it's like don't rewrite TikTok. You don't have to create a whole new infrastructure for social media sharing and things like that. Just have ownership be in the United States or outside of China. That's the argument for TikTok. For us, it's not only is it US owned and there's legal implications for everything that we do, and we have to uphold those by US law, but also we have rewritten code by putting our own software stack on it and wrapping it up so that any vulnerabilities that could be there in data security, we've addressed those.
Okay. Dope. This sounds like similar to what we tried to do at Autel when you were running the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that one missing, the final missing piece of fully detaching from any country of origin, etc., was really difficult or impossible. And it sounds like you guys fixed that here.
Exactly. I mean, in fairness, how many people in the world have went out and tried to fix that situation with the leading brands in the world? Those that are being impacted by geopolitical situations, specifically between the United States and China and related to cybersecurity. My pedigree lends to this.
Yeah.
I've seen the work being done at leading manufacturers. I've been part of drone manufacturing for, I would say, 8 solid years of those 10 years. So when you're bringing up the Autel experience, which anyone that doesn't know, I was the CEO of Autel for a very brief period of time, hired 9 of my favorite people in the drone industry, including Bobby, back in 2021. 2021. And yeah, I mean, one of the biggest, one of the things we really wanted to do is you take Untethered Robotics, a Chinese-owned company that had aspirations of having their technology manufactured in the United States, and figuring out how you can achieve that. Now, Bobby was much more technical than I was as far as componentry, as far as like what the word of the law is. And so that's why, you piggyback that, you know a lot more about it than I do. But I do know how important it is to keep affordable, quality drones that are well supported to be in flight in our institutions in the United States, so that when there's a kid missing in a forest or in a wilderness area, you're using lots of drones, not just the one drone your organization could afford, and they're the best quality drones with the most features.
Sure. That's been honestly my biggest beef. Like, bro, like the whole thing we do at UAS Nexus, and everybody who works with me knows this. Like, the goal is close the gap between China and the West and those capabilities. And I really never you connect me to some of the folks at EVSI in the past, and I appreciate them. They've been very great partners, but I never had been so vocal about some of the anti-China stuff really up until this past year. We're in our home state. They tried to pass this law that was preventing public safety from using Chinese drones almost like immediately by the end of the year. And, man, if I get lost in the woods, send the damn Dragonfish, send the M350. And there's places where the Skydios and these other products, and I get it, but accessibility, pricing, those things really matter. So it sounds like you guys actually preserved all that stuff as well, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I think that we're feature dense. We are quality that you would be used to with drones that have been manufactured in the hundreds of thousands at least. So I think we inherited something that is really special as far as, drones that you no longer have that conundrum of which you should choose or which thing you're going to sacrifice when you're making those purchases. And you asked about who the customer is. I think it should be blatantly said that our customer is who wants to be our customer and who can be our customer. If you need blue UAS, green UAS, we're not going down that road. We manufacture in Malaysia. That precludes us from being blue. We NDAA compliance is. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if that precludes you from being blue per se, because I
doesn't it?
Well, no, because the thing with the blue list is because there's many components there that aren't just manufactured in the United States. I think with the blue list is like the overall supply chain end to end, because there are platforms on the blue list that are actually technically manufactured, not in the United States, which I don't want to dive into because it's not what this is about. But I guess from your go-to-market perspective, it's not meant for the defense customer.
Correct. It's not meant for the defense customer, but
that's what the blue list is for.
But when you have states like Florida saying, you can buy drones, just you have to buy blue, then it's like, well, this has nothing to do with defense, but we're being precluded based off of the list that already exists, which maybe leads to AUVSI being a part of saying, okay, we'll take this green list. We'll say that this isn't meant for defense, but we have a standard. Some say that standard is higher than the standard for the blue list as far as where the componentry comes from, the cybersecurity checks and all of that stuff. As Anzu Robotics, our willingness to go down that road for cost and what doors it opens up, rather than saying, look, if you don't need that, we want to supply you. If you can buy leading Chinese-made drones, DJI, Autel, do that. They are really good quality technologies that you don't feel precluded from buying. But if there's any reason that you're thinking that in the future you would be precluded from buying those things, whether it's your organization that's going to do some sort of ban of it, or you have state-by-state concerns or federal concerns, like Anzu Robotics will be around building these drones the exact same way. And we want you to come to us. But if you need us to take the steps that U.S. Homegrown manufacturers that precluded us or preceded us, you want us to take those same routes. Now you're driving costs up. You're asking us to now supply into areas that aren't intended. We want to support a certain customer, and those customers are ones that know they can say yes without going down those blue and green list avenues.
Are you guys selling only in the United States? What's the markets you guys are trying to get to?
So United States and Canada are day one. I think we just don't want to overpromise, because then you have to set up support overseas, and
For
you know,
sure.
it gets much more complicated. We feel confident that in the near future we'll expand internationally. You know, Latin America, Europe, and maybe like Australia, New Zealand, those sorts of places would be on the front of our minds. We've done all the certifications for the radios in the major areas of the world. Sometimes country by country they have their own, and
Okay,
so
yeah.
we haven't done every country,
Like
but we've
Japan
done
or
the
something
main.
like that, yeah.
Right, so like CE done. Whenever we're wanting to go to Europe, we can approach that. But right now, you know, with a new company, with, you know, us just getting this stuff off the ground, we definitely feel like we're ready to support the US and Canadian markets out the gate, but near future will be expansion
Okay.
internationally.
So US and Canada out of the gate, any value-added resellers out of the gate, or can they buy direct from Anzu?
So we have determined to not sell anything direct.
Okay.
I have been, 10 years ago, I started the first brick and mortar drone store in the world in Las Vegas. I was a reseller before I joined DJI back in 2015. I have sold not more drones than anybody, but a lot of drone technology into the drone space, and the reseller network is so important. You have localized support. You have people that know your use case and can dive into you and dive into what you're trying to accomplish. They know your terrain. They know all the things, like when you have those local dealers, and they are living, eating, breathing use cases and user communication. As a manufacturer, being a part of that, like, I know my product. I don't know how they've always been used in detail. Those aren't the conversations I'm having. So I think that using the reseller network is always been part of my DNA concept to win. And so, I've worked with 1,500 or so resellers around the world. We'll use the reseller network here. So
can you name any of them out of the gate?
Yeah, so out of the gate, if we just kind of go coast to coast, what that looks like, we have two master distributors, which everything we sell is going to go through Exertis or Drone Nerds. Drone Nerds you can buy directly from, where Exertis is just a distributor.
Exertis, formerly Stampede.
Yeah, formerly Stampede, now Exertis Alamo. So that's like the two where we fork off. And then we're going to see, again, coast to coast right now, we have the leaders in drone resellers.
Okay.
My former business and employers, Enterprise UAS, Advecture, Adorama, Frontier Precision, Volatus, DroneWorks, wherever you buy drone technology from in the past, they should be able to access this. And we're trying to be fair with having people that know the technology and can guide you through an experience of quality, whether you have an existing drone program or not. We want to work with those people that can support this product in the right way.
Cool, that's dope. It's exciting to see, because the value-added reseller network is been used differently and implemented differently between different OEMs to varying degrees of success. And so I'm always curious. I mean, first of all, as a guy who wants to get his hand on the product, how do I buy one, right? But also then there's this idea of how do you support the product and how and who do you talk to. And you know, we're fortunate here in Utah. We got folks like RMUS. I don't know, are they going to be one of those?
Yeah, so I've talked to RMUS in Canada. I mean, it's all kind of one family, but there's no reason that they wouldn't be.
You know, he's a sneakerhead.
I mean, I've known Kevin for a very long time from his Gap Wireless days, and I did not know he's a sneakerhead, but I know him like we have a lot of mutual friends.
I recently learned
Canada.
that he's like a real sneaker. So if you guys are into sneakers, message Kevin from RMUS.
Totterl.
Yeah,
The
brilliant
man.
guy, wonderful.
Yeah.
Dude. I'm actually going to try and get him on the show at some point, because the stuff going on in Canada is very unique to Canada, and I think a lot of the U.S. VARs, with respect to all of them, aren't as well equipped to sell into Canada as, say, RMUS, maybe like Volatus and others, right?
Yeah. I just thought of a weird thing, a super weird thing, and I would only say this to you specifically. The idea of FUBU. Yeah. Okay? Growing up as a kid, FUBU, for us, by us. Yeah. It was like a hip-hop clothing brand, whatever.
Us being white people.
Well, what? No. Us, like, when I think about a FUBU being a brand for us, by us, it didn't like they manufactured wherever they manufactured. It was like the conceptual things made it for us. Like U.S. owned company, I would assume that if you looked up the ownership of FUBU, I'm pretty sure it was U.S. I don't know.
It's that guy from Shark Tank, I believe, Damon.
Oh, that's right. It was him. Yeah. So it's like sometimes it doesn't matter where it's manufactured. It matters what the culture is behind it.
For sure.
Working with Chinese companies, for Chinese companies, both with and for. Sometimes culturally, like there's just things you want as a consumer, as a customer. You want to be served in a certain way. There's a certain turnaround time you expect. There's a certain level of service that you expect. Even when you travel internationally, you go to a restaurant, it's very different in the U.S. tipping culture, where how you get treated versus Scandinavia, where they're like pleasant people, but when it comes to service, they're like, you have your stuff, like.
I haven't experienced that yet.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind is, okay, so TikTok. You're familiar with like how they're proposing TikTok to be digestible and accepted? Is like you have to basically have American ownership and you can't have Chinese ownership. You have to be separated. Or I've heard people lament, Lenovo laptops because they're owned by the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, this is owned by Americans.
Yeah, owned by 100% American owned.
And with American support.
Yeah,
manufactured outside of China.
Right, and when we're talking about the reseller network, it's a force multiplier, and this is something that I have shared with, I guess, competitive drone manufacturers now, but this has always been my mantra, is that the reseller network is the pathway to success in the drone space, because you have that force multiplier of service, support, marketing. You have, if a reseller is against you or doesn't have access to you, they're going to sell something else.
For sure.
And so the reseller network is like one of the most unsung heroes of the drone space. And you have people like Chris Fink at UVT that is fighting this fight of like, don't ban drones because they're made in China. Look at the level of cybersecurity and base it off of that. And so however things shake out with that, I am always going to say, I don't think country of origin bans are right. But if you are faced with a situation in which country of origin is making it so that you can't operate affordable quality drones, I am now making affordable quality drones that are going to be very familiar. You're not going to have to like retrain things. You're not going to have to sacrifice like the quality of the RGB imagery or the lighting or the sense and avoid stuff.
Or the radio link and other stuff.
Like you have 9-mile range of control. You have
crazy
all the stuff in an Anzu Robotics product. Just taking out that element, and we haven't talked about Aloft at all.
No, should we?
Yeah. So our software is developed by Aloft, formerly Kitty Hawk, been in the space for 10 years, right?
They do most of the FAA stuff, I believe. Like they've been powering the FAA app for a while before you fly and other stuff.
Exactly. So they do Lance authorizations. I've heard that they do 80% of all Lance authorizations go through Aloft. They're FAA audited. They have ISO 27001 certification. They have SOC 2 Type 2 certification. So it's like their data is secure. Their data for U.S. users for drones is secure and has been touted as being amazing. We're using that. Anzu Robotics platforms are flying on that, and the data is stored in the same way. So it will be an interesting dynamic as the conversation comes out. Is like, why would that change just now that this drone is manufactured, in Malaysia or whatever? Their data security has always been well trusted, and so now they've lent their decade of trust to Anzu Robotics to be our software platform that comes out of the box with our drones.
Shout out to Josh and John from Aloft.
For sure. And Brad, who is their chief product officer. But
pardon me, no, sorry.
Yeah, not one of the founders. No. I'm just shouting them out because this journey has been an interesting one, and the guys at Aloft have really piggybacked a lot of significant things that we tried to accomplish. And if I can steal that question, pretend like you asked me, what did you try to accomplish? Everything we set out to accomplish, we did. We took leading technology, manufactured it elsewhere, secured the hell out of it. And so I don't know who's going to say, but
this is basically the playbook of what the U.S. has proposed TikTok do, and basically
we've done that, and we've further secured the technology where TikTok, it's like just have U.S. ownership and basically U.S. standards, and those will govern TikTok. But we've already done that work.
Can I ask about the pricing and availability? Because you mentioned, it comes with the RTK module, loudspeaker.
Yep.
Does it come with multiple batteries, chargers? It's basically an enterprise bundle.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with a battery and charger, and extra batteries are a separate thing, which is usual. But we have product landed in the United States, and by the time anyone's watching this, they're ready to be shipped. So you can purchase them. I'm going to get back to that. Asterisks on that point. Pricing. So for the Raptor, which is going to be RGB only, no thermal, you're looking at $5,099, so $5,100 on that. And then for the thermal version, it's $7,599, so $7,600, which is...
That's crazy. Hold up. So that's all in. That's like you get the remote, you get the battery,
Yeah.
and you get those accessories too.
Correct.
Yo, so you get you get that for under 10 grand.
You get that under 7,600.
Well, yeah, okay, wow.
So we, like I said, we accomplished what we set out to do. If we tried to jump through different hurdles, we might have driven that price up. We might have been more opportunistic and said, look, we just want to hold a $10,000 price point. But we had the opportunity to make these drones affordable where you're not saying, do I want one of company X or one of company Z? You can have 5 in some cases against company X, and you can have 2 against company Z of a more reliable, higher quality product. Drone manufacturers are making insane stuff, and you report on all of it. And I have respect for every other drone manufacturer that is at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Every one of them. My former employers, my current friends that are now in the same space of manufacturing, small SRR type drones. This is not a lack of respect. This is about writing the story, RIGHT, writing the story about what constitutes a drone that you can save a life with, or you can gain efficiencies in your business with.
For sure.
We talk about saving lives as being like finding kids or like putting out fires, but we're also talking about linemen not going up power poles.
Very true.
And so, or inspection companies that are out in the blazing hot and they have to inspect a ton of stuff and they're having to take longer because the workflow of the drone itself is not as quick and the shutter speed is not as quick and the flight is not as reliable and they can't always do the mission because they're precluded from something. Which brings me to geofencing. This is a product that does not have forced geofences.
Really?
So we and Aloft both believe that abiding by your local regulations on drones is up to the pilot. There's a lot of stuff that Aloft has built into that app to make sure that you are to assist you with being compliant. Lance authorization, check pre-flight and post-flight checklist,
ID, all that stuff. Yeah.
all that stuff. You have telemetry playback available, so you can show exactly where you've been, so it's better for evidential gathering purposes. Tons of stuff, but it should not be. And I understand why some manufacturers do geofencing to protect their business. Yeah. But for us, we just feel like that is the responsibility of the pilot. So it is another feature that's just like, you're not going to be prohibited. No geofencing. No forced geofencing.
Okay, so, and then can I know certain vehicles, they're basically like country locked. This is not country locked.
No. There's going to be challenges with flying in certain places because of chargers and stuff, radios and stuff like that.
Not for the geofence.
No, not from a geofencing purposes. I put an asterisk on something that I need to revisit, which I said, these are ready to ship. It's true. We have them landed at a 3PL and we're going to be going, by the time someone's watching this, there's going to be enough of these that are going to be quality control checked to be able to ship. So if you want one, buy one. But we're also conducting a third-party penetration test.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's important for us.
Course,
we
for
can't
sure.
just say we're secure. We have to be secure.
You gotta prove it, yeah,
and
for
so, we have all these certifications from Aloft. We trust the stuff that we've done to make these drones, the data stay on your SD card, or if for whatever reason there's stuff on flight logs or it gets pushed to the cloud, that it's in an AWS server, AWS East. It is, controlled by all these other encryptions and things like that I don't fully understand. But we have a third party that is waiting for one of these drones, which is going to be sent, I believe, tomorrow. And so that's going to be a process. And we don't really want to have a large user base before we've proven out
for sure.
that the penetration test came back and said there's no leaks. And, we've talked about a lot of folks in the industry or in the periphery of the industry that look into cybersecurity concerns within drones. Yeah. We want everyone to have an opportunity to say, it passes our test. We're not trying to sneak anything by. We want to be challenged and to show that this is an organization and you can trust with your data.
Okay. Bunch to unpack here. So, for one, some of the misnomers we've seen on there on other outlets. I know we're
chilling.
One being that this is a front company or a means for a leading UAS technology manufacturer to circumvent regulations. That's false. It's not like there's no ownership and involvement.
This is U.S. owned. I'm one of the owners. The other owners within the company are people largely in the drone industry, and they're people So there's no there's a family member of somebody that's also American that's at another manufacturer. This is American guys, and they are guys,
American
American folks
folks.
that wanted to take an opportunity to do this, and we had a combination of resources and trust to execute this,
Cool.
and
Do you have so you mentioned about the shipping? So if they order this, then in the next several weeks and days, there's a bit of a time for them to receive it, but products in country, it's available to receive in the next couple of weeks. And we'll see some of the reviews come out also.
Yeah, I mean, those things are all challenging to execute when you're starting a company, and we hope to have had these units a week ago. So being a week behind is actually like a significant impotence to what we're trying to do. But impedance, not
yeah.
impotence. Scratch it. Yeah, I lost my train of
No, I
thought.
see what you're saying.
So we would
Hiccups
be
occur. Things have happened.
then we would be in a place where we would have more reviews, more people seeing it, more people flying it before. But we have a product that most people could kind of understand how it flies. Like the flight stack is the same. You are going to fly a leading drone. You're going to fly something
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Can I ask more about that? So if that's the case, it's got the obstacle avoidance.
Yes.
And it's got the same, you mentioned earlier, the same radio link, probably the same flight stability as well,
Yeah.
the same performance, flight times, etc.
It is a familiar product.
Okay, so and if that's the case, then are there any types of capabilities that, other than the geofencing that differentiate it, any other types of specific capabilities that kind of
Bolster.
make it bolster or make it different or whatever?
Yeah, so I would say that with Aloft's stack of things that makes them special, being able to live stream from the drone with the Aloft app, you're able to share this within your organization from remote, natively on the remote.
That's dope.
Like I said, pre-flight, post-flight checklists, doing safety things. You're going to see weather on your app. It's more like conducive to commercial piloting a drone, where other manufacturers are just kind of like, I just gave you the drone. Like, I don't deal with that.
Okay.
We're adding another layer of compliance. Shows you airspace and things like that.
Sure.
So that's going to be like the niceties of it, outside of U.S. owned and all those things. But the only thing that I would say is different, that is maybe in the side of we're going to improve on this, but it's not to that level, is advanced mission planning stuff. So if you're doing zigzag patterns for capture,
like autonomous flight stuff, you're saying.
photogrammetry type preset flights, that is coming.
It's on the roadmap.
It's not even on the roadmap. It's coming.
Okay.
And we're also working with one of the leading software developers for the drone space to also add on, next level capabilities, which is coming as well. That's already in the works.
Cool.
But doing facade inspection and orbits and stuff that's not built in today. And that's just full transparency. If you buy one of these and you need that, you're going to get it soon, but it's not going to be today.
Okay, that's what you're saying. So but for the folks who are using piloting stuff, not autonomous, but human in the loop type operations, it's perfectly capable and kind of.
Yeah, you might say this is the best drone I've ever flown, and I'd be like, it's comparable to the best drone you've ever flown.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. I know that there's some things we don't want to press too hard on.
You could press in on whatever.
No, I know. You know me. I always ask. I have a habit of asking too prying of questions. Sometimes because you're a friend, I also don't want to cross my lines and be like, again. So you mentioned earlier the pricing was $7,600 for the thermal, $5,100 for the RGB. It's got a controller that runs its own software natively. It doesn't require a mobile device.
Correct.
Okay, so that's dope. And then it comes with one battery.
Yep.
Okay, and all these other connector accessories. So you've got the
RTK module and the loudspeaker.
Okay, light. Does it have the light as well?
It has beacons on it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but not an accessory for beacons.
Awesome. That's really. I can't wait to see it. And then more importantly, are there other products coming? That's probably the thing everyone's wondering. Is there other stuff coming?
So look, as Anzu Robotics, we had to make decisions on what we were going to build. When you're addressing the market with a new product, we went into a quite heavily concentrated or what's the word? It's already being served. There's lots of folks making it saturated.
Oh, saturated.
It's a saturated.
Commodified and saturated.
Sure. But we also knew there's a large number of drones that might need to be we used to use this and now we need to find another alternative. We thought that this all made business sense. So what we came out with the Raptor and Raptor T is supposed to make the most sense for what the market might need today. if there's questions of like, what else could we do? We've thought, ground robots, there's possibilities. There's things being done that, either with the same concept that we took here or just developing ground robots in the future. There's also other class of airframes, VTOL airframes, or larger airframes with larger payloads. But the complexities that come into that, this opportunity is here now. We need a response to, the craziness that exists within our drone space. So we took not the path of least resistance, but the one that made the most sense.
The quickest. Okay.
We are not saying we're stopping here. But I would also say that we believe in a concept of being able to build on a drone for a longer period of time than what the typical standard is by the leading manufacturers of drones. So when we're seeing a new iteration all the time, new firmware updates that are pushed all the time, like, first of all, we don't have that capacity of R&D, to be frank, but also it's like, you want to be able to buy a battery for your drone that's perfectly capable in 3 years from the time that you purchase it. Sure. We're going to try to make this platform be a longer standing platform. That doesn't mean that it's going to be without innovation, but honestly, like, the next jump to whatever it is, we're really going to have to look and define whether it's worth it or not.
I see what you're saying. So this is your focus right now. You want to provide the best experience for this segment of the market.
Correct, but it doesn't mean, like, using a drone built in 2024 doesn't mean that using that drone in 2026, 2027 is a bad thing or that we haven't evolved. Sometimes using what's tried and true is using a pickup truck that was made in 2010. No one's going to be like, you have a
I fly the Mini 2 all the time.
100%. So it's conceptually like we're just trying to do all the things that I believe make for better business and better relationships as a manufacturer that I've heard over 10 years of experiencing this. People are like, reseller network so important, and so many of that has been left out of the equation with other manufacturers. I think it's a mistake. I think iterating too quickly is a mistake. I think chasing blue and green is a mistake.
Okay. Oh, this is helpful because, like, basically the product stands kind of in the intermediary. It's not for the blue customers. It's not really for like in the green space. It's simply meant to be an enterprise, public safety focused platform based on industry leading technology that is not manufactured in China with American software.
Correct. And you mentioned like the circumnavigating legislation.
Well, there's a perception that this was like a shady thing.
No, well, and that's why I think it's important to know, like, you know me.
Yeah.
Enough people in the industry know me. I am an American citizen. I can't be like some front man for some like global espionage thing. I think that would be problematic for me. So I think taking in like just common sense, I probably am not doing that. I have not been able to be bought in my life. I'm pretty like.
Trust me, we wanted you to stay at Autel.
I would say that like this opportunity is doing something that most people that have spent any amount of time in the last 5 years in the drone space have said, what if this happened?
Yeah, for sure.
What if you just manufactured it somewhere else?
Yeah. We've talked about this to some extent. Yeah, for sure. No, I think this will serve also maybe as like a blueprint for also what is possible and how we can take different approaches to the UAS industry.
Correct. And so, this is a real thing I think about. I think I'm doing a good thing. I think Anzu Robotics is doing a good thing. I think by providing this product, it is doing us as American citizens that care about this industry, that care about our colleagues at Drone Deploy, Pix4D, Skybrowse, DroneSense, Aloft, people that are building on drone technology. If you shrink that market down to non-Chinese drones only, you have just emaciated their ability to do business, and people get laid off and go elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
We would then slow adoption, and we'd slow innovation within the drone space significantly.
For sure.
So
they just won't use drones if they can't use.
Correct, and people will get laid off, and those expertise go to AI,
Apple, the guy from Parrot that now works at
Google,
Apple,
Amazon, whatever. So I feel like we are doing a good thing. But the thing I don't know is when we're talking about building domestic capability, our company has the ability to manufacture these for a long period of time as far as contractually. We can make as many as we want. We can serve the markets that we want to serve. We can modify what we want to modify. We can make the software do what we want. This is not American devised R&D. is it still serving the American public as if it's domestic manufacturing of drones in your mind? And that's a tough question. It's a tough answer for me
American
to hear one way
device
or another.
R&D. Oh, in my opinion.
What I'm asking, I'm asking your opinion, and you could be. I want you to be straight up. When people are saying, "Look, we need to develop or improve our domestic capability for small UAS," is this doing that?
I think there's two ways to do it. I think there's yes to both sides of the question. So for one is like, I've been very critical of Section 848 of the NDAA, which like calls out these critical components: the cameras, the gimbals, the radios, the things that make the Chinese drones, in some ways,
really good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
How can Western firms get access to that? And when I worked, and I even still, some of my clients, these Western firms, are like, "Hey, man, how can we get this from this company in China to work on this thing?"
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways to do that. And there's a question of like, does it still violate, our ability to be on the blue list? The answer is yes. So we won't be on the blue list. Does it still solve the needs of our customers? Absolutely yes. I mean, but man, like me, I've been saying I've been blue in the face about the security of the platform ultimately revolves around the software that controls the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So like, my iPhone is made in China. The software is American, right? My computer, same thing, right? The Mac that I have. And there's nuance though. If your computer was Lenovo, right, and it runs Windows, right? Because some people were saying, "Oh, the hardware's there, etc." I don't know. My only concern, and I will see how the perception is that some people are still going to be naysayers. They'll be very skeptical, and I think that the third-party penetration testing is going to be a huge, mic drop depending on the results. But it also serves as the blueprint of, or is the West taking the right approach? Because obviously this drone isn't helping the other blue UAS companies make drones cheaper and better. In some ways, maybe they might be concerned that, given because of the form factor, there's very few. We can count on one hand the number of Western OEMs that make drones in that category.
Correct.
I can name it Skydio, Teal, Altavian doesn't do this, more Parrot, it's Advantage as well. There's a handful. ACSL as well with their Sotin.
Yeah.
I feel like those companies might have, they may feel differently about this product than maybe what you're explaining. If you're a different OEM, making some of the larger stuff, you might not feel as like threatened or concerned. But what this does, I don't think it's helping. This product doesn't help Skydio sell more drones. Doesn't help Teal and other folks sell more drones. And so I think from that perspective, and it doesn't help even the core component OEMs manufacture scale their business.
I want to say something real quick.
For sure.
DJI helped Skydio sell more drones because DJI existed. There is a market, right?
I see what you're saying.
So grow the market. We talk about the iceberg. We talk about the pie.
For sure.
What we have right now is a small industry. It's the numbers of flying robots is going to increase substantially. You need a place you can scale the number that you can manufacture. You need affordability so you can have larger fleets, and that the dollars are not shrunken down to buying one drone with a bunch of software on it. So I think this is good for the industry. It just changes the conversation, and it takes it away from, well, your data can't be secure because of where this technology is developed. That's wild. I would say DJI has spent more money on cybersecurity and validating their cybersecurity than any drone manufacturer by 10x or more.
I've heard that from multiple people who have vetted the DJI platforms, who used to work there, who don't work there. I've heard similar.
Yeah.
I guess the question is like, how does this help the Western American drone industry? And I think some people might be like, well, it's not helping even the components, but it actually helps the industry in that it's growing the market.
Yeah.
It's showing the use cases for drones. It's showing that, yes, this is actually how, because people don't like drones, I've noticed. Like, it's very polarizing. Either you like it or you hate it. And if we can show the real benefits, like this whole drones for good thing, and really articulate that and have that be the thesis of the industry, people's receptions will change. Because when you hear about drones, unfortunately what's happening in the world, you have a negative opinion about drones.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Whether it's stuff from Iran, whether it's stuff being used in Ukraine, it's really very negative. And so when you ask, we'll hear this AVSI. You'll be at AVSI?
100%.
You guys have a booth there? You're going to be walking the show?
No, I'll be walking the show with some green drones if you want to check them out.
Yeah, definitely. Can I get one to review or something sometime?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Dude, thank you again for me calling you up last minute and be like, hey, can I drive down for this? Anything else you want to leave on?
Yeah, here? I want to leave with this. I got a kid that I got to go watch or else we'd keep going forever.
Okay.
I think, to your point about whether it's good or what we're doing is good or bad, what we're trying to do is good for those people that need this solution.
For sure.
Right? Out the gate tomorrow, Wednesday, literally, we're trying to do a good thing. And I think that anyone listening to this, if you're questioning the intention of it, you can, the third-party validation, all that stuff is going to be proving what I'm saying. But if you're questioning the intention is just to try to do good for the people that I've been serving for 10 years, working with, arm in arm, hand in hand,
sure.
being around that long. So
they can hit you up on LinkedIn too.
100%.
Awesome. Man, thank you for your time. I can hear you.
Of course, brother.
Appreciate you. Cheers.
Yeah, man.
Thanks again, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Untethered. Peace.